Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this session where we're going to be having a couple of talks and followed by announcing the finalists for the much awaited and the most popular DesignX Social Awards. I know a lot of the participants have been having a lot of fun, and so have the jury and the mentors. So we are really excited that we are coming closer and closer to the final stages of the DesignX Social Awards. But nevertheless, I think the innovation that has come out of this competition has been absolutely amazing, and it has really stunned everybody who's been working on this project from the UMO team and as well as the jury and mentors. So it's really great to see so many people from across the globe, different perspectives, different backgrounds coming in to ideate and think and come up with very innovative ideas to solve the most urgent problem we are facing today. That's really great. We just can't wait to announce the finalists and also followed by next week, where we'll be announcing the winners of the DesignX Social Awards across all categories. So, for people who are joining in, very warm welcome again. We will be starting soon with a couple of speakers, then followed by the finalists. So, take a listen to what the speakers, the jury members have to say about this competition and some information about design which they would want to share, which is definitely going to be useful for you across your career and anything that you would be doing next. So feel free to drop in questions wherever you're watching this video, and I'll try to pick it up and ask those questions for you to the jury members. So with that said, let's get started. We already see a lot of people chiming in and already posting a lot of highs and hellos. So let's get started. Start with this session today. We have our first speaker, who is Anita Radla, who's an award-winning designer who's currently working at Capital One as a product design lead in Virginia, USA. Anita, I would like to welcome you onto the stage. Hey, Anita, you're on stage.
Hi, thank you, Rohan. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So before we get started with your talk, I know that you've been a part of the DesignX journey so far. So I'd maybe ask you to take a minute and talk about your journey and then get started with your presentation. Does that sound good to you?
Sure. I think my experience being as a mentor, I wish I could participate too, because I think the topic that we have, the challenge that we have right now is definitely the most, like I would say, is need of the hour. It's very important, and having all these people come with these amazing ideas have only inspired me more. I'm actually really looking forward to looking like which ones made it to the team, because I'm sure it was really hard. There's such an immense, tremendous talent. And having people participate from all over the world, I think the power of design is like bringing people together. But if we are able to solve the problems together, I think that's the I don't know, I mean, that's what design is all about, and I'm really excited about today.
Amazing. We're so glad to have you throughout this journey and today here again with us to announce the winners and give a talk to all the participants out there. So, Anita, before we get started, I know you're going to talk about the design process, which has been personal to you and which you're going to talk about it from your perspective and your inspiration. So, I will let you get started with that. And good luck, and we'll meet again after your talk is done.
Sure. Thank you, Rohan. All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Yes.
Okay, can you see my screen?
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yes, you're on stage.
All right, great. So, as I said, my personal experience with working with UMO has been amazing, and I know like a lot of the teams have worked through different kind of methodologies and problem solving. But one thing that stands out among a lot of the designers is their personal journey, like their personal experiences, and I feel like every designer has a unique perspective, and that's what they bring to the surface. I mean, when we interact, when we collaborate, everybody has the unique perspective, and this is enriched by their own experiences. And I thought, when I was asked to do a talk, I kept thinking, should I cover like one of the existing methodologies, or should I think of a new methodology that people would be like, oh wow, this is something that we could use. But then I kept thinking, and then more I thought, I was like, as a person or as a designer, you're taught to be empathetic. But how do you get that? How do you become empathetic? I mean, is it innate nature of humans, or are these like, everybody has their own experiences, and that's what make them unique? So I just want to share some of my personal experience, and I would personal process, which actually evolves every day. I mean, if you're doing a usability testing, people change their mind all the time. But how about a designer? Like we are supposed to be empathetic. We are supposed to evolve with how people are thinking. And so I always been inspired by things around me, people or fellow designers and friends. So I just wanted to share my personal process and how it keeps evolving. And today I want to focus on Elsa Peretti. She's an Italian designer. And lately I'm impressed. I'm really, really influenced by her. So I figured like how she has influenced me in my current process. So let's get started. So when I talk about, how every designer has their own experience, this is something I've put together. Personally, design is all around you. And when I say design is all around you, I don't want us to, I don't want to even preach, or I don't want to tell everyone that, oh, what do you mean by design? Are you talking about a painting, or are you talking about something creative? But I feel like, it's the perspective. Like, sometimes if I go on a bike ride, it's like a completely different set of inspirations I have. I bake, I do flower bouquets, I fly. So I feel like every experience that you experience enriches you with like a lot more things. And that's why kind of I think about, design is all around you, and you should always keep an open eye. So why Elsa Peretti? There are a lot of people who have influenced me, but I thought, the timing of such is, unfortunately, we lost Elsa Peretti this year in March. And I wanted to talk about, I just wanted to walk you guys through some of her products that have personally motivated and inspired me. Because and it's evolving, and I do feel, sometimes if I'm stuck, one of the inspirations that I have is, oh, if Elsa was to solve this problem, how she would do it. Or if I follow someone else, if they were supposed to stuck in a problem, how would they solve this design problem? So that's why I feel like, instead of being always thinking of a solution in respect to an application or web application on an app is not the ultimate thing. So, there are other ways to express, there are other ways to come up with solutions that will force us to think beyond what we are capable of. And Elsa Peretti fits into really well. A little background on her. She's an Italian designer who moved to New York, I think in 1970s. She was a very, very famous model, and her collaborations with Tiffany brought actually one of the most timeless pieces that she's done, which includes jewelry, home goods and things. And I just want to walk you through that. So here's another quote from her that I totally relate to. I don't know, I'm sure a lot of designers feel that. If I think about designing, I can't design. Because, as I said, you could have your own design thinking experiences. You could be in the industry for 20 plus years, but you still struggle with that. And I don't want to call it's equivalent to the writer's block, because people are always, everybody has their own process. And this, I totally relate to this. If someone asks me, can you do an app? I'm just blocked. So I cannot do it. So this is where I first draw the parallels with her thinking, where, if you're asked about designing, you cannot design, because it doesn't work like that. So I'll quickly go through some of her products, which have been very iconic. This is one of the products called Bud Vase Necklace. And why is it inspiring? It's a simple thought process. And when I talk about looking around you, seeing things, you put fresh flowers in a vase because you don't want them to dry. You want them to stay longer. And it's just that simple idea. And she came up with this solution by literally reproducing that idea into a miniature way to waste around it. And this came around because when she was in Italy, there was a small town in Italy called Portofino, and a lot of women love this gardenia flower, and it's actually a very beautiful flower, smells good. Women like to always put in their hair or somewhere around. But then the only problem was it would die soon, and then people would keep replacing it. So Elsa saw this, and she was like, she just came up with this idea. Oh, how about I make like a little necklace, like a vase, and then you could just pour some water in it and put the gardenia. So now women could wear it around their neck, and they could just and the flower stayed fresh for a long time. And this is like a simple thing, simple concept that she just looked around and came up. And this is one of the iconic pieces she designed for Tiffany. And I feel like that's where we get stuck about, oh, this is too simple, we shouldn't do it. But sometimes those simple things work, and that's how you should. So it's one of the takeaway for me. This is one of my favorite. It's called Bone Cuff series. So here she comes up with bracelets that actually covers your wrist bone. And as you can see, every wrist, like your wrist has a little bone. So the bracelet you would wear on your right hand, you cannot wear it on your left. So it's literally like, instead of designing an accessory, she creates something that becomes part of you, and it empowers you. So when you see women wearing it, you're not wearing an accessory. You are actually owning it. It makes you empowered. And one of the unique things is, we talk about all the user experience and how people are going to, interact with your product. Well, that's a virtual, but this is actually physical product. And you can see when it gets warm, the sweat kind of attaches that metal more to you. So it becomes the anatomy of your body. So it's such a simple concept, but the thought process around it was, yes, it is an accessory, but, is it just for beauty, or is it something you feel empowered? So I like the concept and the power behind it. So that's my, think beyond what it could be is my takeaway from this. Well, we talked about metal being part of our anatomy, and how about metal can be drapable? So this is another one, gold mesh cloth, and I'm originally from India, so I know like this particular metal kind of earrings were mimicked all over the place, and I grew up looking at it, and I was shocked that it's one of Elsa's design, where she took the metal and then made it like flowable. And you have actress Zoe Kravitz wearing this a bra made of that, which was quite controversial. But it's in one of those unique things, like, thinking about what a product is and what it could be. So I love the idea of how this evolved into this. And it's amazing, like, the kind of chain reaction that happens. This one I'm scared to share because I am scared of snakes, but I'm obsessed with this necklace. And this is a gold snake and spider, a necklace that she came up with. And the reason being, she always carried this. I think it's I don't know what kind. It's a very scary poisonous snake, but she would carry this skeleton of this snake for good luck. And then she realized that people who would know about that would be scared about it. So she was like, she was bound to change that impression or the perspective of those people who were scared. So she goes around and makes this necklace out of this skeleton. And this is one of another iconic pieces from Tiffany, where it kind of pushes you to, go beyond your fear. And, I'm actually obsessed with it, but I don't know if I can wear it around my neck. But it kind of lets you break those barriers of, like try to push you and not to be scared all the time. It's okay, like, seize the moment. Like if you're scared, just seize the moment. And once you get over the fact, then, it just becomes a beautiful accessory. This is another one, which is literally human bones. So as a kid, she would actually go to cemeteries in Italy and collect these human bones. And her parents would like, are you crazy? Like, you shouldn't be doing this. And it's interesting, like how when she became so popular and started collaborating with Tiffany, she would take these same shapes and make them into candlestick. And one of the things of what she did is, she would make these pieces, which would be the centerpieces for all these elegant dinner tables, but it was made of terracotta. So she made this like simple thing, concept. And sometimes, my takeaway from this is, this was forbidden not to be like, brought into the house, or even though it's like human bone, it's like part of us. But then she was dare enough to make it the norm and accessible to people and see the beauty in it. And I love her process, so I just shared it because I felt like sometimes we are like so drawn back with some of the ideas that's actually is kind of limitations of what we can do, what we cannot. But I think, like, give it a try, just be brave, and just go in there and experiment, and you'll be surprised. And again, this is one of the iconic pieces where if I'm not wrong, it's like $1,000 to $2,000 a pair. And it's like one of those unique pieces by Elsa. Again, open heart, my favorite. I'm not into like very heart-shaped objects and all, because Valentine's overdoes it. But I love this simple pendant she designed on the right. And she was inspired by Henry Moore's sculptures. So you can see the parallels. When you look at the one on the left, they're the Henry Moore sculptures. And here she comes. And so this is basically where she's looking at things around, and she would go to look at different buildings and architectures, get inspired. And this is one of the sculptures that inspired her to make this. And the concept behind this was, you should have an open heart. Let love be filled within. And it's just a simple concept inspired by another artist. And I love how it's the bare minimum. I mean, she takes everything away and creates this simple shape, and it's still so powerful. Well, this is my favorite piece for being, thumbprint bowl. I don't know how many of you have thought about, like, holding a bowl and trying to force your thumb around the bowl to hold it. Or, if you try to dip your thumb into the food, that's like, it's not ideal. But here she comes up with this simple solution. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why can't we just hold the thumb on the bowl, and then it makes like a print? So that was her like thumbprint bowl. You could just hold the bowl comfortably without stressing your thumb. And this was just looking around, interact, like, having the hold the bowl and eat something every morning was just like a simple, brilliant idea. So, nothing is a bad idea. So the biggest takeaway, as I said, I do talk about my personal process. I do talk about inspirations from Elsa, even though I have other people that inspire me. But the biggest thing is, just be open-minded. Like, just be open-minded, try to do it. And one of the things, once one of my manager told me, unless you're doing cancer research, where lives are dependent on it, don't worry about what you're trying to do. Like, you don't have to be so so hard on yourself if you're not able to come up with the solution. There are many ways, like, if you sit, humans are capable of coming up with like so many ideas under a few seconds, but we are always scared to take that leap. And and just go for it. Like, don't be bound by the deadlines and things. So I would say, if you can do it and have fun, just like Elsa says, I did something for fun and it became a success. So I would say, just go ahead and do it, and keep having fun. Don't get carried away by the end result. And I would say, for successful, follow yourself. And I hope you take away this message of being brave, trying to do something, get inspired by others. And I hope it's been helpful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Anita. Thank you for that wonderful talk. I think that was a huge dose of inspiration for me, at least, and I hope it was inspiring for all the other people out there. But thanks again for that wonderful talk. Uh, I see people are getting, anxious about about the finalist announcement, but I guess that's normal. But we do have a couple of questions which have come in for you, and I would directly jump into that. And the first question for you is, uh, how did Elsa become such a huge inspiration for you? I know she's passed away; it's a huge blow. But how did she become an inspiration to you?
So I have to be honest. I'm not really going and looking for inspiration. It just happened that since she passed away this year in March, I stumbled. I follow a stylist just for some inspirations, and she was talking about some of her iconic pieces, and I started researching on that, and I was blown away because lot of the products that she's designed, I have seen them, but I never knew that this is the person behind that. So it was very inspiring, and I could draw some of my personal process. For instance, trying to do something crazy to get inspired, or literally, like, I'm really really scared of heights, but I'm trying to get my pilot license. So and she was all about that. She was doing all these things that didn't that scared her, because it motivated her. So while I was able to draw parallels with her life, I was also inspired by some of these pieces, and that's how I thought it'll be a great like topic to share.
Awesome, awesome. That's a great story. I know one of the common patterns we found with the Design X Social Awards was there was a lot of user experience in terms of a digital world, and I know you work on digital products at Capital One. So, how do you apply this inspiration, which is in a product form, which is tangible, and apply it to something which is non-tangible? Maybe an app or an application, whatever that is you do in your daily work.
Right. I think the biggest takeaway would be trying to think the final solution, because each time you're given a problem in the UX world or the UI world, you start thinking about, oh, this could be a great app, or this could be like, it's always thinking in terms of how virtually it could be. But I feel like there is a possibility where, I mean, I'm in fintech, I'm in Capital One. We do have physical products like credit cards too, and there's a lot of and we're not limiting ourselves. I know the credit card kind of interacts with the app and things like that, but that things evolving. For instance, I mean, one of the examples I keep thinking is, maybe it's not a great example, but it pushes the process is very important to come with something innovative solution, right? So I feel like when we start around the process is limited by an app or a web application. But when you're with Elsa Paredes thinking, like, uh, I'm not thinking of as a final solution. I'm always thinking, like, how else can I do? Like, what else can I do? I'm looking around for different solutions. And but I feel like even the interaction that we end up designing, like, if you compare the visuals or the interaction, I would say patterns, like 10 years ago to now, they have evolved. And they're evolved as a sense of, like, oh, we don't have to have things to be like two buttons, or there's a lot of process involved, like, how the page is laid out, the hierarchy, how people think. Unless how people are thinking and using, that's how you're evolving these things. And I feel like the process is important to have some kind of innovation of what we see in the virtual world, like, also. I hope I answered. I think I was thinking.
Amazing. No, you definitely did. You definitely did. I hope that answered that. Yes. But I think, Anita, that's all the time we have for questions. I wish we could take a couple more, but thanks again for being here. And we have our next couple of speakers coming in, so we'll see you again when we are announcing the finalists. I think people are pretty excited about that.
Yes, yes, can't wait. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anita. So I hope all of you have enjoyed the talks. I see a couple of comments where people are quite anxious. I think that's quite common, and that's quite normal. You guys have put in a lot of effort over the last couple of weeks to deliver this. So this is going to be worth the wait. And doing these sessions just to inspire you a little bit more, because there's still one more leg of the competition yet to be done. And where's the fun in just putting out a list of winners, right? You guys have put in so much. So we also want to put in a good amount of effort to give that much importance to all our participants and the finalists. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. We have some really exciting speakers coming up. Hear them out, post some questions, and we will see you soon. And for the next speaker, we have Stephen S. Christoffel, who's the VP of Design at OVO in Indonesia, Jakarta. Stephen, it's so nice to have you here again. I know you've spoken at UX India previously, and people did have a great time listening to you. So I will, without any further ado, I'll just let you get started.
Yeah, thank you, Rohan. Let me share my screen. Okay, Rohan, can you confirm? Is it visible now?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. So, hi everyone. Thanks. It's nice to be here again. Yeah, I was involved on the UX India in 2019. I think with Rohan as well as my partner there. While also last year I also involved to become a jury for the innovation, the social innovation from Usability Matters. And now I also will speak some uh, thoughts, some experience that I already have related to how we should do efficient product design. We know design already grow. We know design already have so many methods, so many framework well iterated across industry, across team size. But in reality, when we are building the solution, whether in a competition, whether in your company, there is always a time limit. There is always a momentum where we should briefly deliver our design and then see, learn from it, from the result, and then iterate. And then next is the challenge is more into like how we should do efficient product design with all the limitation, with all the constraint, with all the reality that we have, and we can utilize just enough design, quote unquote, to deliver an optimum outcome. So how we should making time for what matters. This is the story from my journey around 9 years experience in design, working at a corporate with around 50 designers, a large startup with almost hundreds of designers, and now leading OVO, one of the fintech unicorn in Indonesia with around 30 designers, smaller team. So there are several consistent patterns that I see on how we should do the efficient product design so we can deliver the optimum outcome. So here is the story. In 2017 until 2019, I was part of Tokopedia design team. We have back then a large team. We had around 140 designers back then working together with hundreds of engineers as well. And then we have a major process. It's as of now, it's around 12 years old company, already largest e-commerce, largest marketplace in Indonesia. You can imagine it like Alibaba or Amazon of Indonesia. And then we have a well-defined tool. We have design system, well set up design operation and all the stuff. And then when I share my experience, in some competition, in a smaller startup, reaction from others is similar. It's not working for us. There are several issues that consistently mention, like, okay, you have 140 designer, but we have only less than 10 person. Or even in the competition team, like this, we have only, for example, 5 people or even 3 people involved. And then because of that, we don't have enough resource in terms of money, people, or even the investment from the shareholder, for example, or support from the expert, for example. And then also how if you are working in the company and design is not mature yet, there you are still perceived as a delivery or of UI or UX only the screen, and then we don't have enough management support. How we should do an efficient design process, seeking all of those constraints, and many more. And then I try to reflect after sharing that and do some mentoring and also as a consultant for some startup. And so this says, yeah, is it true? And then I got the answer when I building the OVO design team in 2019, especially because back then at OVO, at my current company, the team is new, is small, and I have some quote unquote privilege to experiment from the early definition of the design team. So before jumping into the key principle or key question or the framework that we should do to do efficient design process, I want to share a bit about OVO as my current company, so you have a better context. So in 2017, OVO started to operate in Indonesia, and in 2019, we are the largest digital payment platform in Indonesia, first fintech unicorn in 2 years. And then this is, if we talk about numbers, we installed in hundreds of million devices, 500K merchants in almost 400 cities, and we serve across Indonesia. Maybe if you ever heard about Grab and Tokopedia, Those are the ride-hailing company, the largest marketplace company in Indonesia. We are gathering to build an ecosystem to serve our customers. And yeah, if you talk about India, we also have some office in India. Back then in Tokopedia, we have an office in Noida. So yeah, we are closely related to India as well. And then related to what is our product, what is our service, what is our ecosystem, we have e-commerce, ride-hailing, largest modern retail, parking donation. So as OVO, we serve as a fintech, as a digital payment for all or for a widest ecosystem of use case. As open ecosystem, we want to serve Indonesia to bring financial inclusion for better financial life. That was our mission. So for your context, we are a fintech company, a leading fintech company. The biggest portion is on the digital payment, while also we are trying to building a financial inclusion through other product as well, like insurance and also investment. And then back then in 2019, when I came to OVO, as usual, common first few weeks as a design leader and also as a designer, yeah, I need to empathize using the listen mode. There are so many here and there complaints, input related to the design team or also the stakeholders. For example, everything changed so fast, not enough time for research, no clear context, UX improvement always deprioritized. That's all the voice from the design team. But when I talk about stakeholders and then our UI UX are worse than competitors, our team is still junior in problem solving. Conversion rate is low. So, you know, there are some gap between the what's perceived by design team and also what's perceived by stakeholders. There's a gap that we need to solve as a design leader back then. And then how I came up with the efficient design process that will also scalable for the team in the competition and also in the company. The first one is understanding the people. Second is the process, and third is the tools. And then with all the iterative improvement, with all the success story of our project, fail and learn, retrospective, postmortem, we understand that to be efficient, we need these two things. Efficient in mind means you understand your target. On the right, imagine you are an archer. You know your target. You know how to be an effective. You know what is the real problem to be solved. And then on the bottom, you are a runners, yeah? You can run as fast as possible to iterate, to experiment your solution until you reach your target, until you solve your problem. So efficient in mind is not only doing it fast. It's not only about many resources in to have better flexibility in doing multiple or parallel design process. No. Number one, you should understand your target, your problem to be solved, and then run as fast as possible, iterate, break things, and then make sure you are moving towards your problem or outcome to be expected. And then with all the learnings, there are 4 key questions. This is also the framework or the thinking that I bring when I assessing in a competition like this, and also when I assessing my the project in the company. And hopefully, these 4 key questions will help you on how you can do an efficient design process with a limited resource, limited time, and then bring a powerful outcome for your solution or for your problem to be solved. Number 1, this is the most important thing. What people problem are we trying to solve? It should clearly mention on your project, on your design, on your craft as well. So the characteristic of people problem, number 1 is a human-centered. It's not like business-centered. So I always remember on my initial time at OVO, people just came to me like, hey, Steve, our conversion rate is low this week. Can you help to design some solutions, some ideas to help this? It's not a people problem, it's a business problem. Conversion low is a business problem, it's a product problem. You need to know the why. What is the human problem that make that conversion lower? That's why you will have a user research. That's why you will have an analysis. That's where you will have an in-depth interview. So you need to know the human problem to be solved first. And then second is a solution agnostic. Even sometimes people come, or even in the proposal, in the competition, I want to build X, I want to build Y. It's a solution. A clear problem, people problem to be solved should be a solution agnostic. It's let's put aside all of the solution in mind and focus on the people problem to be solved first. And then last, sometimes if we talk about company, if we talk about an established solution that we already have, we always think how we as a company, how we as an organization can win, can earn something from that problem. Please also put aside that. I would say like OVO wins agnostic. So maybe sometimes that problem is not meant to be solved by your company. Maybe it's for others. So by removing those OVO wins agnostic, OVO wins mindset to be more agnostic of it, you will have a clear picture of the problem. This is one of the example. So in the right is the payment screen of OVO. The green one here is a rewards that we will give to the user after they finish the transaction. Back then, we have no green text here previously. And the people problem that we identify is people disappoint when they don't earn cashback as expected. Cashback is a rewards that we have. For example, you pay 10,000, you earn 10,000 rupiah, and then you will earn 20% cashback. It means like 2,000 rupiah. So previously, people disappoint, they complain at our customer support, they complain at our social media. Why? On the banner, on the offline banner, you say that by transacting using OVO, you will I will get a 50% cashback. But when I transact, I only get like, for example, 10% or 20%. Because on the cashback mechanism, there are some limit, there are some rules to make the fairness of the rewards mechanism. So the solution is really solving the people problem. The key here is get the people problem. What happened to the people? This is the second example. So due to COVID-19 situation, many people cannot afford to pay their electricity bill. This is a clear people problem that we see in Indonesia. So instead of thinking our monthly transacting users on app visit is going low in the COVID because people don't go offline, there's a lockdown, you cannot use OVO on the offline merchant anymore, then find the problem. What is the clear problem right now in this COVID-19 situation that can help OVO to gain more later, to gain more the monthly visit or anything else? Find the people problem first. So here we found that the electricity bill issue where people cannot afford, we try to understand, and we see that there are some partners, government partners as well, want to bring donation, and how we as an ecosystem, as a financial ecosystem, can bridge those problems and make it as a solution, and then the side effect will be on the OVO app performance as well. So identify the people problem. So this is some tips that we have in our company. So we know that we can have so many people problem identified from customer voice. So we built some engine back then to gather data from App Store, Play Store, our CE system, social media, while also putting some user research inside our Net Promoter Score, also brand health tracking. We do some data science scoring and also triangulation. And then we provide a report of pain point and also opportunity. And then we bring an open space for ideation. Well, also as a company, we make a strategy and prioritize what problem to be solved. So with this system, we clearly gather the people problem to be solved. Next, after we know the people problem, we want to know how we know if it's a real problem and what to solve, right? Number one is quantitative and qualitative evidence. What's the evidence of the problem? I also see on some of the proposal like, okay, we see a problem in X, but there is no evidence, either quantitative, either the data, or it's also qualitative where you immerse in that nuance, in that environment. What is the evidence? And then what is the success metric? What things that you want to change and how we measure it, either from user perspective, from people perspective, or from business perspective. So by putting these two strongly, people will know that your people problem is true. It's not a bias. It's really have a good evidence. And then there are some tips that you can use for this defining evidence for your project or for your people problem. The tip is be data-centric, but always try to see beyond it. There are some quantitative and also qualitative methods. It's not an era again to make it a versus comparison. It should be a combination. On the quantitative, you can show numbers, some things is measurable, objectively agreed. Researcher use tools like survey, and as we know, this is loved by business team, PM team, also tech team who are always using more into the logical thinking. While also on the qualitative, it's about story, journey, emotion, subjective things that we can analyze. And then researcher as a tool, it means like you come immerse into the environment and then learn about it. And this is a research, or I can say the methods that usually loved by design and research. Combine it, show it in your projects, show it on your design craft. What is the evidence? And then the third one is, what are the aha ideas? So as we know, design is not 100% a right thing when you are building that solution. We need more and more experiment to see which solution works better to solve the problem. So we utilize divergent thinking, cross-function ideation. When we are identifying a problem or do some ideation, we always gather people from multiple division, multiple background. You can bring your tech person, HR person, or even the user itself into the process, understand from their point of view, let them design, do co-design, and then you will have a rich view of the solution or even the problem that you want to solve. And then think beyond product. Sometimes to solve that, you don't need a product. Sometimes you only need to fix the service or even the operations. So don't always think what product to be built or even what product should I design. Think about how to solve it beyond the product. The usual method that I usually use is whiteboarding, ideation exercise. So usually we do a cross-function, we call it inclusive design. And then with the mentality that we don't know what we don't know. And for every activity, every idea there, we should have a clear intention, design for intentionality, product agnostic as well, while also embracing failure to learn. This is usually what we need to answer in that workshop. Who are the users? Clearly mentioned. What's their goal? How's their journey, current journey? What their pain and gain? What's the constraint that we have? From the government perspective, from the resource perspective, from the company perspective, what are the aha ideas and also assumption? How we test it, this is the most important. And what's the trade-off? If we failed or if we need to do it, what's the trade-off? Should we bring more time? Should we bring more people? And if we cannot do that, what's the trade-off? What's the risk? And then the last part is how do we learn and choose the best ideas? So from here, we know when we are building or when we are designing the solution, the product, the service, or anything, you should bring more than one point of view. You should know that your initial design won't be 100% success. So you need to bring a quick and cheap prototype to test it, while also thinking about modular element inside your design where you can mix and match to quickly build prototype, to quickly experiment, and then you can see the data and measure the success of your design. This is one of the example. So at OVO, usually for some behavioral problem, we are using a role play with a quick and cheap prototype. For example, here, what we want to solve back then, the people problem is, as a company, we cannot bring a fixed cashback anymore because we see it's not healthy for our company financial stuff. And then when we are doing, want to implement that, there are problems from the people perspective. People will not use OVO if the cashback is very, very low. That's the reality. But also if it's not clear for them, then people will feel the pain as the first example that I mentioned, the unclear cashback or unclear rewards. So there are two ideas back then. The first one is the fixed smaller cashback, and the second one, the randomized cashback. So you kind of play a roulette or some game, and then there are some cashback percentage that you will get that user will clearly earn it, and then you will get the cashback based on that game or based on that rewards. So to test it, we don't even create the game. We don't even create the design first. We only go to the one of our merchant, put some two option for user who transact there, and then after they transact, we ask, hey, there are two options for your rewards. Number one, you will have a very low cashback, let's say 20%, or the second one, you can play this game and you have a chance to earn, for example, 5 to 80% cashback. Which one approach that you want to take? And then most of the users choose the role or the game. So without, without designing it first with quick and cheap prototype, even without the flashy UI, flashy prototype, we can understand the behavioral. And then later when we design, we see the success because of that user or human understanding. And then when you talk about UI, one level deeper, build a modular UI. For example, this is our last year OVO homepage. For example, you want to experiment the icons and also the banners here, or even the articles here. What is the best structure of the page that can bring, for example, a higher visit for the users? Which one can help users to solve their day-to-day problem? And then make this configurable from the back end. For example, if you want to experiment to put the banner to the top, you don't have to release it. You can easily do it from the back end. The key is make it configurable. While also the right one is an A/B testing from our customer support, which one is more helpful for our users, looking by category via icons or the FAQ on the bottom. And then we do the A/B testing, easily configurable from the back end, from the tech side, and then we can see which solution is better. So you see, it's a modular. From the beginning, design in a modular way. So instead of right and wrong, you will experiment and become less wrong, because nobody will write 100% right on the initial design. And launch to understand, this is one of the common approach that we can do. This is our insurance product back then, working with Prudential, one of the largest insurance company in Indonesia. So back then, we want to see whether if we bring insurance to solve some of identified problem through OVO, it will be helpful from our users. Instead of building a full-fledged insurance with all the claim mechanism, with all the form filling, we only put banner here through notification, and then build one pager here with all the benefit listed here based on our user research. And then if the user is interested, they only share they store data in us, and then our offline agent will reach to them. So you see, we don't even build a full-fledged solution. We want to test whether insurance will help our users, especially in this COVID situation, where the understanding of the insurance is already increasing a lot because of this pandemic. So with this minimum approach, we understand what is the effective channel to reach the users. Is it a push notification? Is it a social media? Is it a word of mouth? We can learn from here. What is the effective message? What is the most important benefit that we need to deliver from our product? What is the digital adoption pain point? And also we treat it as an opportunity validation. So as a summary, there are 4 key questions that we should bring in our project to make an efficient design process. Number 1, the most important thing, identify the people problem that you are trying to solve. Put it in your project clearly. And then how we know if it's a real problem and what to solve. Put all the evidence. What are the aha ideas? Show your diverse thinking. Show your multiple ideas. And then how do we learn and choose the best ideas? Instead of going directly into one solution, tell your plan of experimentation, or if you already did it, what's the result? And then from there, we will see that you as a designer, as a problem solver, you are using your iterative thinking to solve the problem. And even though at some point you didn't solve it yet, but we know you already have a clear plan to solve it in the future. That will be a big, big plus point for your project. And then with all of this, we can always make time for what matters. And this is to summary all of the learning. Efficient is understanding the right problem to be solved, the human problem, and then embracing failure to solve it iteratively. Thank you.
Hey, Stevenus, thank you. Thank you so much for that talk. It was amazing. And I loved the passion with which you shared your work. That's really cool, and that's some great work you've done there. So the process which you explained, right? It's a lot of it is sort of a approach which most designers would take to go about any problem or any project, and that's the case with the DesignX social challenge as well. So I hope the participants hearing you out were able to relate and were able to get a better understanding of the design process. But thanks again for talking and sharing your work with us and talking about the efficient design process. Let's get into the questions. I have a few coming in. Um, one question from Soumya, which asks, "How did you choose your go-to-market to test when you prototyped when your OVO app has a diverse target market?"
Yeah, that's cool. So it will depends on the analyze human problem to be solved. So based on that human problem to be solved, you will understand who are the users, what are the target markets, and then what's their journey mapping, pain and gain, and then you will go into there. The practical example is when we are building the investment platform in Indonesia. There are two types of users. Number one is a pro investor, where we can directly get and then earn money from there if we talk about business perspective. While also there are a huge portion of a non-investor users, or even the early investor, that they are really want to save, really want to earn return, but they are afraid with the investment. And then what is the people problem that you want to solve? From our analysis back then to our target users, most of them is the early or non-investor, and we see they are very afraid to start invest, and also very afraid with the high risk investment because they are not used to it. So by understanding those people problem, we can directly use a go-to-market strategy where we are prototyping or design, do some ideation, we assess those users, and then to understand which channel to be effective, how we fit into the journey, we can use some proof of concept or even a quick engine prototype, and then test it with the user with their current user journey through the immersion, for example. So I can say, to know the go-to-market strategy, use the first question, what is the people problem? After understanding the people and all the context, you will find who to be target and in what type of design methods you should reach to them in an effective way.
Great. I think that definitely sums it up. I think we have another question from Divya, who asks, "How many researchers were in your team?"
Yeah, good one. With 140 in Tokopedia back then, I think we have around 30 researcher, 30 to 40, yeah, 30 to 40. But now in OVO, we have around 30 team, 30% in team, and the research is around 6. So I can say it's around 20 to 25% of the whole team.
That's awesome. So, Stevenus, I think before we wrap up, I think I have one final question for you. So, in the beginning, you spoke about when you get a requirement, how do you go back and start from the scratch, and how do you start from the problem and continue to develop the solution? So, as a design leader, how do you? I mean, the reason I'm asking this question is because of the innovation theme around the challenge. So, as a design leader, how do you ensure that you're bringing back the team from the requirement to the problem stage, and you're ensuring there's some innovation or some creative thinking being done through the process?
Okay, so I think there are some pitfall when we are do a user research. When we do a user research, we don't ask what is the right solution. We get a better context of the problem. So when we talk about the users, dig deeper on the problem. Make sure that you pinpoint the right problem, because those are the key of the efficient design process. You cannot be efficient, forget about efficient, if you don't know the right problem to be solved. That's the key point, yeah. So after understanding that, and then when you are building the solution, number one, bring multiple perspective. Those inclusive design that I mentioned with multiple, people, even the users, the directly connected people with that users, or even people from the design, from product, from the tech, and then we innovatively create the solution and then test that solution through the quick engine prototype. So I think on the innovative side, we can do on the inclusive design part, and then to make sure whether it solves the problem, again we do through the quick engine prototype, while while in reality I know we have some limitation in this like competition. So it's okay to not do fully flash testing, but at least when you have strategy, when you have a clear progress of your test, and then show it, okay, we did test with this limitation and this is the result, this is our learning, and we want to this is the plan for the future. It will bring a clarity on the on the thinking or on the strategy from your team, that will bring a huge plus point from the innovation point of view on your project. So I think that's the key.
Great. Thanks a lot for answering all those questions, Stephen. I love the use of air quotes while mentioning innovation. So that's that's cool. So, Stephen, thanks again for being here and answering all our questions. We will see you again soon towards the end of the session when we are going to be announcing the finalists. So, thanks again for being here. I think we will now move on to the next speaker. Uh, Yes, and to talk next, we have Mr. Mohit Gupta, who's uh, currently working as an experience lead, and he's here to talk about uh, leveraging data, and he's going to talk about a couple of case studies through which some examples rather through which he's leveraged data and how you can as a designer leverage data to create meaningful experiences. So Mohit, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Rohan. It's a pleasure to be here. So, before I jump into any of the slides, I was just scrolling through and looking at the comments coming into the comment section and people getting all excited about, the results, and then looking at, all those comments about momos and food and all those things, and it makes me miss India. The food over, you miss the food over here. So, it was fun looking at that, but all the people who have been waiting actively for result, I would say, patience is not about passively waiting. It's an active process where you accept the process, and you look forward to it. And through my talk also, I'll talk about the virtue of patience, how it helps in coming up with the user centric design. So, having said that, I am I sharing my screen or?
Yes, Mohit. Thanks for
Okay.
those inspiring words. I'm sure that's helpful for the participants. Like you said, they're eagerly waiting, and I think we
Yeah.
should try and not overlap these sessions with the dinner time. That's probably another reason why they were hungry. But nevertheless, you're up. Let's get started, Mohit.
Yeah, thanks. I think they should enjoy their dinner with these stories, and there's always something to learn from each and every designer, I feel, because everybody brings a unique perspective and flavor to it. So hearing that, and hearing those talks, and see how you could have worked differently or thought differently, and that adds a lot of value, and it has actually helped me also growing a lot throughout my journey, where while I've waited for numerous results, while looking at it, and just thinking about, oh, if I would have thought about this in this perspective, how it could have made a difference. But again, getting back to the talk about, we all talk about user centered design, and we live in a world where digital penetration is already so much, and that Google knows better about you than your mom at this point of time if you have exposed your cookies. So there's already a lot of data which is aware for the users. So can we make user-centric data-aware design? And I'll talk about it at a high level. I'll speak about the UCD process, and then slowly from there, I will go into talking about what approach you should take towards coming up with user-centric data-aware solution. So hello everyone, this is me. Feel free to follow me, or keep connected with me on the media, social media sites related to this particular topic, or even any other curiosity or questions you have. In design, I'll be happy to answer and help you. So before we jump into user-centric data-aware solution, let's talk about what is user-centric design. And I go back and I look at the Interaction Design Foundation, because there are so many definitions from Wikipedia to Nielsen Normal Group, and every organization uses it differently. And this is the one which I mostly correlate to, and it talks about UCD being an iterative process where no design is a final design. And that is I've learned never calling a design version as final version. So I never use the word final, I use the word version, because design is an iterative process and you can always do better than the best. um, and the second part is understanding the users and the context about everything, designing and development. So there would be iterative feedbacks coming while you are conceptualizing, and there would be feedback from users while you are moving ahead and in moving it into a development phase. So let's look at a diagrammatic view of it. So I think design thinking process, everything kind of falls under this gamut of era where you understand the context, you find the requirement out of those contexts, you work on some concepts and solutions, and then you evaluate it against the requirement which you had set, and you keep circling around. So that is crux of the whole UCD process. And people may call it define, design, empathize. And while you are understanding the context, you empathize with the users, you talk to them, and you can expand or contrast it based on your need and projects. So let's jump a little bit, in this process where we are keeping only users in the center of it. So we start with the idea about working through and understanding the concept and ideas, and we may use different methodology. And I'll talk about examples, tangible examples which you can take back and put it back to action and realize. So should I do ethnography? Should I do survey? What kind of activity should I be doing to identify the problem? From there, after identifying the problem, evaluating it and finding the real problem, and then working towards the concept. And again, you see those two concentric circles going back and back, which kind of talk about iteration. And I lay a lot of emphasis about iteration, because if you have that mindset of iteration, you will never fall in love with your design. And as designers, I think we all do that. Once we have already invested so much time, it's a human tendency that we have our own biases, which says, oh, you know what, I have already invested so much time and this design is good. And somebody who comes with a criticism, we have this you know undying subconscious feeling that, oh, he does not understand the process or he has not looked through it. But when somebody is providing a criticism, look at from a perspective of 5-second think aloud testing. That particular person has just seen your screen and he's giving the critiques. So having this idea of iterative model is very helpful in making a greater and good product. So I'll take an example. And we were talking about digital, we were talking about physical space, we were talking about doing things in interface. But I'd go back and look at this example, and I just want to share this example to talk to you about not only what were the active ingredients and direct impacts, but also the indirect impacts which were made. And this was only possible because the designers had identified the real problem, the researchers had worked together in conceptualizing at the real problem and how it changed the ecosystem. So if you look at the left side of it, you will see the MRI scanner, which is the traditional way looking model there today. And kids used to be very afraid of dark. And think about a kid who has just fallen down the stairs or got hurt. And after the kid has got hurt, they don't want to leave the lap of their parents and their guardians, and they don't want to go alone in something which is dark. And there's an inherent fear which they have. And what used to happen because of that, there used to be a lot of convincing which had to be done for kids to go inside this MRI scan. And this was sometimes because of the delay where kid is not ready to go inside and be stationary while the scan happens. It was even fatal. So what they did, if you look at the image below that MRI scanner, designers and researchers, they did a participatory design research where they got a lot of kids and worked with them in identifying what they liked, what they did not like, what were the things which would excite them. What did they think about dark? Did mood boards? I'm not going to get onto all the aspects, but the end result was, at the end of the day, they came up with this whole new layout of the MRI scan, which looked more like an as somebody who is going in space. And as you see the image on the right, it shows you how everything, even though you are in a medical room, but it looks like you are entering a space center. And the impact about this was, when the kids now they got hurt, they used to come, the doctor would say, can you just lay down and I'm sending you to space for 5 minutes? Can you keep your eyes closed while I send you to the space and get you back? And that was the small change in perception and thought process, which not only reduced the time, so there was no more convincing required to put the kids onto that MRI scan when they have got hurt. And the indirect benefit of it was around 15 minutes per doctor was saved, while the earlier the kids was had to be convinced and you know told that get into this MRI scan. And now those valuable 15 minutes were saved, which doctor could use on other patient and save other lives. So that is the deep impact of design, if you really identified the real problem which is behind that. And not every time it has to be a digital solution, not every time it has to be a product. It could just be change of exhibition, and looking things from system and surrounding perspective. And not at all times you need to change the system. Maybe sometimes you have to look at the surroundings from a different perspective. So talking about, after this example, I want to now talk about data aware. And when this example sounds great, but how do we apply this in real life when we are working, or we are doing projects and engagements? So as I was talking about, there are users and there's a lot of data. And the data sits in different formats, different shapes everywhere. And if you look, we do a lot of user personas, but do we even think about that user persona in terms of the context of data? And when I'm saying data, it's not always with an existing product. It could be with a system or with a surrounding. So let me take an example and talk to you about it. But let me tell you a little bit of theory behind it, so you kind of attach to it. So we live in, most of us are either into jobs or getting into some organization. And already a lot of organizations own a lot of data. So when I say own a lot of data, when you talk about a medical company, they already have a lot of patient data. They already know how the patient come in, how the patient go out. There's a lot of digital information also there along with the physical information. So there's a data is a most valuable asset which is there coming from your user, and you already own it. Why not leverage it? And when I talk about it, I want you to think about user personas not only as a source of finding pain points and looking at their touch points and what you could do better for them, but also trying to understand their behavior. And when you're looking at the behavior, you look from the age group, you have looked from how tech savvy they are, and so on and so forth. Why not data which is already available? And what that data does to your profile of user personas, it really enriches it and shows you some of the hidden connections which are apparent but we just do not see because of our own biases. So with that, I very particularly believe that you cannot design any product without defining the data types and the relationship. So persona is a character who is going to use their product. But don't we also think that what are the different activities which are involved to achieve a goal? And how are those relationships between those activities interconnected? And if we can establish that through those personas, maybe we can find that connecting dot where the real problem lies. So with that, let me take a couple of case studies and examples and talk to you about how real world scenario you could bring in data where user centric design solutions to help you. So I'll take an example of a very famous shoe brand. and this is where I got in, and uh, they were marketing managers, and then there were product teams who had identified that in-store sales was declining. So people who were coming into the store to buy shoes, it was declining. And and the problem was there were 10% more visitors coming to the shop, but still the sales were going down. And that this is again one inherently human feature where sometimes we assume assumptions are equal to facts, which is not true. And a lot of stakeholders thought, since we are getting more and more digital, and things are getting more fancy, they thought their store was not fancy enough, and they thought if we could redefine the whole in-store experience, where a person comes in even without wearing a shoe, they could stand in front of a screen, and they could wear the shoe and do all sorts of other things and have more lighting and jazz, that would increase their sales. And with that idea, they had actually got me in, saying, do your study and find out what would be the best experience. And when I got in, I never take that idea which I was talking about, the statement where assumptions are never equal to facts. And I went back to that and I said, you know what, rather than doing the research on the store, let me do a market study. And why did I pick market study? The reason was, while I'll do the market study, let me see what other different shoe stores are doing and shoe brands are doing, which we are not doing. And what is so inherently different? Is the sales going higher in few stores compared to others, and so on? So when I did the market research, I found out, I'll not get into so many details because of the time limit, but I put in certain criterias, and I measured those criterias to see how different were the other brands from this particular brand. And I found out they were almost the same. So I went back to the stakeholders and talked to them and explained them they are not doing something inherently different. They are doing things just like we are doing. But so I concluded and saying, even if you change your entire store, it may or may not bring you more visitors. So that may not be a real problem which we are looking at. So it is more easier to not only convince but even have the confidence to go back and inform a design decision to your business when you have a data behind it. Now let's take the next step, where what was the real problem and how do you solve it? So looking at the problem was, how can I increase the sales? And then I started looking at going back to the users. So you remember we were talking about personas. Now let's talk about personas in and their archetypes and how they are divided. So I did an ethnographic study. How do you measure how many people are coming inside the store? You can put a camera all the time because it goes against the privacy, and you have to think cleverly. How do you want to do research? And me and my team came up with this unique idea of putting the sensors on the door. So every time the door opens and the door closes, it is one knob. So you get the counter every time people are coming in. So when you have to identify the unique visitors which were there, total number of the count divided by two, because they'll come in and then they'll go out. And how many times people have come in and come out. Again, I'll not get into the accuracy of data where, I looked into the number of store managers and people working inside, and putting an average that they will go out 4 to 5 times, and doing all that math. But the part of the story is, we found out, and then this is after normalization of data, we found out there were 100 unique visitors who were coming to the shop. And out of these 100 users, if you see when I say 1 to 2, where you see the arrow, it only talks about 20 people come in to use the restrooms. They're not even coming to shop. So if you are measuring 100 people are coming in, and and out of those 100 people, 20 people are just coming to use the restroom, so they're not even your potential buyers. So why are you even focusing on them? Then looking at the other segment, which was the next 25 percentage of those 100 unique percentage of users, we found out they were just glancing through. They just wanted to come in, they were going out. And the third aspect we looked on was about 15% of the population was just accompanying somebody who was in the store with somebody, and that particular person was planning to buy the shoe. So it was in fact actually the this population who was the potential user at that moment of time. And when people are leaving the store, it is not because, 100 people are leaving your store who are not buying. It is these 40 people who are leaving your store and not buying. So the idea is, because this is the population you want to focus on, what we want to do is, let's focus on these 40 people and see where the problem is. So what we found out was that what was the real problem? So these 40 people, out of these, the people who were leaving the store, there were two kinds of people. One who either did not find the exact shoe size or the shoe color. So somebody who would had a size of 8, but they would not have the color of the same pattern. And what they will do, just because they didn't find the shoe, they'll go to the store next by or close by and they'll buy the shoe from there. So you could not convert your potential customer into business. Coming to the next part, which is how user-centric data aware solutions help them. So we came up with this idea of a centralized inventory system. So now when a user does not find the exact shoe size or color, what we do is, we had provided the salespeople with a centralized inventory system, and they could come in and just look at where it is in the next store. Either they could ask 10 minutes for the customer to wait while they get the shoes, or they could provide a little bit on-site discount, which was not even available on internet anywhere, and free shipping to the customer. So that way you can retain the customer. Not only, you will retain the customer, but you will also generate more loyalty, and the customer has not left. And an indirect benefit of all of this was an automated intelligent ordering module. So this also helped the production unit to define and see in real time how the shoes were getting sold and what was the trend people were using, and which was a product which was trending in one market to compare to another market. So that is the impact of design, if you think both in terms of users and the data. So again, taking another example of a pharmaceutical company. So this pharmaceutical company came up with a very niche medicine for heart failure drug. And with COVID coming into picture, and they had the best medicine in market. So they wanted to get the maximum market share. And they reached out to, they wanted to enroll a lot of patients. But they thought, to get the patients, let's design a website. And when the website is there, it's COVID, everybody would go ahead and use the website, but there was very little traction. So then they made a responsive portal of it, so that people on mobile, tablet, they would if it is on a wider range of platforms available, people will then enroll. But still there was no success. And at that point of time, they involved me and they asked me, we are not getting the success, maybe we have to build an app. And again, I'll talk about the data. So building an app, there was already a responsive website. So nobody is going to use a app to enroll, because you only enroll once in the medicine. You don't keep enrolling again and again. So just for an enrollment, nobody will download an app. And if there is a responsive website, so there is already a medium which is there. So why are the patients not enrolling? So I tried to be as unbiased as I could, and I went back to the market to study, talk to the patients, and understand what was the problem. So I've had this lucky opportunity to, do an, ethnographic studies. Me and my team staying with patients, and we did a diary study, and we did ethnography with 30 patients. And what we found out that, and alongside, we also did the quantitative part of it, where we were looking at, okay, who are the people who are currently enrolling? And we figured out, it was mostly doctors who were enrolling on behalf of patients via web. And then what we figured out, the patient average age was above 65, because you will never have a heart failure when you are young, right? The cholesterol and underlying conditions, they come up pretty late. And the third aspect we figured out was that this age group, which is 65 and above, it is formed of predominantly two kind of people, who are tech savvy and who are not tech savvy. So to a certain degree, we were sure, okay, if a person is not tech savvy, he will never enroll. And a person who is tech savvy, why are they not going to enroll? And that question was still pondering us. And we did interviews, and I'll quote you what a patient exactly told us. And the patient told us, it's a life-saving medicine, something which will determine if I'm going to live further or not. I already had 2 surgeries before. I have so many questions, so many doubts. I don't want an Amazon like experience to get a medicine which is going to save my life. I want to talk to a human. And that was a real insightful value coming out from that qualitative research, which actually guided us in looking the problem from a completely different perspective and not just looking from an interface point of view. So this was the exact comment which they made, which was, I only use phone to make calls to my friends and family. I'm not great with technology. So that was the part of the people who were not tech savvy. And then if you look on the right, I need to speak to a human as I have many questions and need clarification. After all, it's a life-saving drug for me. So going back to these two problems, and this was the first time we came up with this idea about engagement centers for patients and caregivers for enrollment, so they could talk to a real human being. They could talk how those things should be done, and then there was a complete set of conversational experience which was thought about how those agents would talk to the patient and how that experience will intertwine together. So with both these examples, I just want to let you know, personas are good, solution is good, but let's spend a little more time on the problem. And when we are thinking about problem, let's not only think the problem from user's perspective. Let's also look at the problem from the data which that user is producing, or you know is creating. So I would love to say, data always tells you a story in any and every problem. Are you listening? And with that, I would say thank you to everyone for listening, and happy to answer questions. Any thoughts, comment, happy to hear, and thank you.
Hey Mohit, thank you so much for that amazing talk. It was very insightful, and thanks for taking us back to the basics and talking us through the each and every step which we go through and building anything, right? So thanks again for that. In the interest of time, I would actually want to skip the Q&A, Mohit, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
But there are some questions coming in on YouTube, so if you don't mind, you can absolutely answer them over there. But thanks again for that amazing talk. And we'll meet again in the next couple of minutes when we are going to announce the finalists.
Thank you, Rohan. I'm so sorry it overstepped, but I just wanted to share those wonderful examples with the group. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Not a problem. Thanks again, Mohit.
Thank you.
Uh, I would like to thank all the speakers for coming out today and sharing their experiences. I think now is the time that we've all been waiting for. But before we get there, we've seen some amazing storytelling from a lot of you in terms of the video submissions you've made. And it's been very impressive to all of us. And that's very evident if you go to and visit our YouTube channel as well. There are thousands and thousands of people coming in and looking at those videos. So on that, we have a very interesting announcement to make, and I would like to invite Nisha onto the stage, who's a core team member at Yomo Design, to introduce this new competition. And Nisha, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Rohan, and hello, everyone. Happy Independence Day to everyone in India. Hope you all had a wonderful day and still having um, a time. I can see that in the comment. And also good job on all the submissions, guys. You were also phenomenal. Look at the storytelling and the way you have communicated. You have your ideas and your thoughts are amazing. And to that, I am so glad and excited to announce moving stories for this year. So we have the site up and running. It will be on the screen as well. Very cool. So, guys, the site is up. We have umo.design/express, and the theme this time is the invisible enemy. And guys, from today's session, this is fresh out of the session now. It is not up in our social circle yet. You are all the first ones to hear you can right away start submitting your stories. And this is again related to the current pandemic, which is the COVID. I have the details here. This from the site, and again, this is live, so you can go through the details at your own time. We have many awards. We have details if you want to go through what the theme is all about. It is so interesting, and I'm sure you will have a creative use with this concept itself. And then we have details about why would we want to trigger change by sharing your story. There are many reasons. There are some exciting things that are planned up for you all. If you are movie buff, or you love making stories, you love watching movies, this is for you. And even if like you simply pick up your mobile and start taking videos, imagine what you can do with sharing those stories with the world. So again, this is for the same as DesignNet Social. This is for everyone and anyone. It's for students, professionals. It doesn't matter you are technically strong in making movies or not, but you can still share your version of what you want to do with triggering that change. So we have recognitions and awards up for grab. We have winner for the short film. This is a short movie storytelling challenge. We have a critic award especially from the jury. And we have the People's Choice Award. And we have some constraints. Again, we are making the videos. It should be for 4 minutes and how long it should be, how the format should be. But remember, we don't have limitations, so you can go bonkers about your ideas. And then we have the process. The last day we have is the 24th of September. So you have ample time here. And since this is out fresh, maybe you should get started. And last, I do want to congratulate everybody. I know you must be anxiously waiting. Congratulations, everyone, for participating in DXS Social Challenge. And I know that itself is an achievement to participate and have those experiences. It is another thing to win or lose, but congratulate everyone for being part of this. And I want to leave with the thought that Anita shared this morning in a deck from Elsa Peretti that I did something for fun and it became a success. So good luck to you all and see you soon. Bye.
Amazing. It's always a thrill and a very chilling moment for us to launch a new initiative, and we were so glad that we're able to do it today on such a great platform with all of you sharing some incredible stories already. So go check out Moving Stories. Thanks again, Nisha, for coming in and introducing Moving Stories to all of us. Now it's finally the time. It's the time to announce the finalists. It's the time you've been all waiting for and been very anxious about. So let's get right into it. I would request the team to invite all the jury members onto the stage to be alongside us while we are announcing the finalists. Great. So, Ranjit, thanks for being here. It's good to see you. You've been leading the DXS initiatives in terms of the finalists and talking to the jury and helping the jury finalize the finalists for the DXS awards. So, if you can quickly take a minute to share the experience in terms of how the process has been and how the innovation has been so far, and what the finalists mean and what are the next steps to the competition.
All right, thank you, Rohan. And this is such a very, very interesting this year because, so the amount of entries we got and amount of teams participant is very huge. And the quality of these presentations in such a short span are really, 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 really pretty good, right? So, so pretty interesting concepts in a very given short span of time, right? And also, we have a very strong jury this year. If you look at the jury in the website, right, we have pretty interesting jury who are very good thought leaders and design leaders across the globe. Really had hard time actually deciding in terms of who are the finalists. Like, everyone is drilling down into each of these entries and sorting out all these finalists. I know like many of you guys are waiting for the names and teams, whether they have been selected or not. Just stay tuned, But one thing I would like to say, you guys have done a pretty wonderful job in terms of putting your thoughts together. Amount of creativity flowing in was really, really cool, right? So being said, the whole jury process, we had a very transparent way of and methodological way of how we actually select candidates. It's all, I think you saw the website, we have these criteria in terms of judging criteria elements where each of your entry is evaluated by 3 jury members at least, so that make sure that you have enough different dimensions so that that gets selected.
Thanks, Ranjit, for that. I think the jury definitely did have a tough time going through all the finalists. The competition was absolutely fierce, and I'm sure the jury had a wonderful time going through all these innovative ideas. But it's now time. So we have a couple of our mentors and jury who have been part of Designex social journey throughout. So we have a couple of them who also spoken. We have Stephen S. Mohit and Anita who've just given us talk. So thank you again, guys, for being here. So now we're going to announce the finalists, and we would definitely like some encouragement from all of you and just give the participants a push and congratulate the finalists. So Ranjit, if you would like to start us away with announcing the first category, can I ask the team to roll the clip, please?
But this is something like, this category is actually like, they have gone go and beyond. Each and every one of them. It's really, all of them are there, guys. So go and look at it. So check out other team members' entries. So look at what team has put together. It's not like just matter of who gets into the finalist kind of thing, but think about amount of ideas they have brought in, amount of innovation they got in, amount of the thought process got in. So there are a lot of things we can learn from each of these entries.
Thanks, Ranjit. So we have 4 categories of awards being given, and hence we have finalists across 4 categories, and we've just announced the winners, the finalists, sorry, for the design schools. And I would just want to repeat the names so that the jury and mentors can give a round of applause. Starting with Team Mosaic, Team Sapiens, Team 3 Designers, Team Desk Squad, Team 7-2, and Teams Ujjayi. A round of applause for all of you people,
all of them,
who've been finalized for the design schools category. You have 1 more week to go, a long journey. So stay tuned, and there's going to be more information coming. But for now, let's move on to the next category. Can we have the next? Can we have next category, please?
And even this category, right? So this has a unique flavor to the problem solving thing. All other institutions did amazing job there, right? Fantastic innovations out there. Please go and look at this category. And congratulations all to the finalists who got into this for the finalist.
Yes, Ranjit, I think people from the non-design streams as well have given a very tough competition, not just to the design schools, but across all the 4 categories that includes business and enterprises. So we're really amazed with the level of innovation that's come out. And just to round up the winners again, round up the finalists for the other institutes category, starting with Team Mast, Team Design, Team Glitch, Team 113, and Team Solartia. So congratulations, guys. Again, a huge round of applause to all of you.
Yeah. Congratulations, everyone. And one thing about this other institutions, right? These guys are not designers. They are from like engineering background. There are different schools, different backgrounds and stuff. Even then, they have taken a step forward to really solve these design problems in terms of, for their backgrounds. And pretty interesting way of how they approached problem. They have, in fact, there was a course which we offered for non-designers to teach about design thinking. Hopefully, that helped them to really upskill there and understand, various ways of how they want to solve these problems. And good job, folks, and congratulations again for all these finalists who made up.
Ranjit, I echo your thoughts, and I think, when I was looking at the problems and solutions, not only design and non-design schools, I think, the lovely way of how they were thoughtful, even in thinking about the team names. And it was so interesting and so wonderful to think about that, how they were thinking from a whole 360-degree perspective. It was really interesting to see, not only the ideas, but, even the team names, they had put in such a lot of thought about it.
Exactly, Mohit. In fact, these guys, we should really appreciate all these participants here, right? See, amount of enthusiasm they have, amount of curiosity they have, or it's kind of like, the way they are solving these problems, that's really tells up. And in fact, one thing which we should really appreciate, they're very proactive in terms of,
Yes.
that kind of, we need to do something about it, need to participate in this. And mentors, thankfully for all the mentors who are actually helping them, spending their time to really tweak out those ideas, the collaboration among these teams. And some of these teams, right, they don't met anywhere, any point of time. Like, their teams were formed and they were collaborating actively. Maybe like, some of them are actually calling regularly. They were having regular meetings themselves, catching up in WhatsApp and stuff, a lot of hard work gets in, and we really appreciate you guys. Whether you got into the finalists or not, it's not about like getting into finalists or not, but it's all about like you guys have done an amazing job. You have put together your thoughts and you're showcasing to the world.
I think, usually it is quite easy when you are doing the, looking at different entries, but with this one, it was so hard, how to evaluate one against another. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure. And all of them looked so professional and nicely starting from the problem, and be it design school or something. And from design school we are calling it user research, they are calling it market research, but they're touching the crux of the problem in such a nice way and talking about that whole story. And the videos, the quality, I was amazed, how they have like made it so professional and so nicely across.
All right.
Absolutely.
So
Mohit and
Rohan,
Ranjit,
should
I
we go
think,
to next category? I think like there are two more categories. So we have four of them, two of them released. I'm sure all the other candidates or participants who are in other eagerly waiting about their names. let's like I know everyone is hungry, but Rohan, let's try to reveal so that next category. Can you, Rohan, why don't we reveal the names of the teams so that people who missed it gets it?
Yes, absolutely. So the finalists for the category professionals and citizens are UI UX, Butterfly Team, Change Thinkers, The Next Solution, and Avantgarde Inc. Great job, guys. Congratulations for being finalists. A round of applause, please.
Congratulations, everyone. And especially telling about this particular category, right? These are professionals and citizens. So these they all are from various domains, various industries, right? So and even then, again, design is all about problem solving. It's all about creative thinking, solving the problem, and everyone is a designer, right? So we are trained, we are designers because we are professionally trained in doing in a process way. But everyone designs a lot of things every day, right? So this category really we should appreciate because non-stream designers actually solving the problems in a very creative way. And look out the videos out there and see like what kind of thinking people have, what kind of creative thoughts got into for problem solving. Congratulations, folks, again for this category.
Absolutely, Ranjit. So just to kind of make sure although this is a design competition, there were a lot of non-design participants as well. And the reason why we separated out the categories to give a fair chance for people who don't have a design background, but looks like that was not the need of the hour. Level of creativity or the level of quality which is brought out has been great. And we've also tried to have a jury which is not just from a design background, but across various backgrounds to ensure diversity and multiple perspectives being put through while judging the submissions as well. So it's been really amazing. But let's move to the next category, and we have the clip for the next category, please.
is this is again, right? This is again, like, it was a really, really tough thing, because there are a lot of entries in this category, especially businesses and enterprises across the globe has done, and a lot of creative thinking around in terms of problem solving. And this category has more experienced people who are working across various corporates. So there's a lot of professional touch here, a lot of deep thinking here, and fantastic ideas altogether in terms of, and look out, guys, all of these guys who are put together in a very short span, maybe like, working all the midnight oil, or maybe like, working over the weekends, but amount of quality is really, really good. And being said, like, Rohan, why don't we reveal the team names of these finalists?
Yes, let's do that. The finalists for the last category, the business and the enterprise category, are starting with Lead by Design. We have Intergalactic Surfers. We have Free Thinking. We have Girl Power. And finally, we have Diverse Labs. Congratulations to all the finalists in this category.
Congratulations, everyone. And this is really great, right? Congratulations for all these 20 finalists. All these 20 finalists will go through the final jury, right? These going to be finalists. And the one thing which we want to tell from UMBO team is that, don't get disappointed who actually did not shortlisted for the finalists. It don't mean that, your quality of work is like not up to the mark or so, right? It's only that the fact is that, there are all lot of interesting ideas out there, and the jury criteria is there are various dimensions to it. There are 7 dimensions which are of this, and each of these dimension has various weight ratings. And maybe like, you might be missing with little bit of scores, like, point, sometimes in fractions, but don't get bothered about it, because it's not about whether you got into finalist or you're win the award. It's all about you have done a fantastic job, and still there is one more award. You don't need to get disappointed on. Keep sharing this thing. There is again, like, you have one more award, which is People Choice Award. What it means is the number of people voted for your, you can still win it, right? So keep sharing, and you keep sharing your work, and you can win it. And I would definitely like to congratulate all these finalists who have done incredible job to get to the finalists.
Absolutely,
And
Ranjit.
Steven,
You're right, Ranjit. I think the finalists still have a chance, not just the finalists for the Popular Choice Award. And in fact, there's also a special jury award which is going to come in, and the award ceremony is going to happen on the 22nd of August. So the finalist teams have 1 week to kind of tweak their presentation to make it better before they make a final pitch to the jury. So I think that's great to have, and I think we've put together a great effort in terms of the UMO team being there all throughout and making sure everything runs smoothly. So if I could also ask Steven, Mohit, and Anita to share a final thoughts on what's the process they have been through, and generally your experience of being a mentor or a juror.
Sure, I can start. I think my experience being a mentor for my team was amazing, because I was just there to guide them, not give them solution. But in the time that we had together, especially everything being virtual and different time zones, it was very, very interesting to see what they could come up with. I mean, I've had the opportunity to look at some of the past contestants and also the current ones, and I'm just blown away, to be honest. There's such amazing solutions out there, and I would like to echo what Ranjit said. We don't have, don't be disappointed. I would say people who didn't make it, go ahead and go pitch it to the people who will make it happen. You don't have to depend on someone tell us it's a good or not, or you didn't make it to the finals. I would say see how it can be more practical. Find those partners who would be willing to collaborate. I've seen. I mean, my team came up with a solution that would help with the doctors and their families. So I would say just reach out to them, propose this to the people who can really leverage that and not be disappointed. You may not be the final, but someone would just adopt it. And I think that's where these ideas, and I'm also hoping like some of the government agencies are looking in. Maybe we should just push these links out to them and force them to watch this, so that they'll see, okay, well, they have like a well thought solution and we could just probably adapt it. So yeah, my experience was amazing, and I'm definitely coming back. And and congratulations to everyone, and happy Independence Day in India.
So Anita, on that note, we are working with a lot of investors to bring them onto our DesignX and UMO platform to showcase all the work. So that's going to happen after this competition. So we have been talking to participants about that, so they have that to look forward to.
That's awesome.
Stevenus, would you like to share your experience?
Sure. I think the important aspect that amazed me is the people problem that you all identify, especially in this pandemic situation. It's really, really important for us as a designer to make a contribution. Really, thanks for that. And then becoming a finalist or not is not the end of the journey. It's just for this competition, right? But the real winner is the ones who will give a positive outcome, the real outcome in this situation, especially for the social impact. So if you see there are some input from the mentor, from the jury, iterate your solution, whether you are finalist or no, make it happen, find a partner to make it happen, and help the people see the positive outcome. I think those are the future real winner, I think. So it's not the end of the journey. It's only the beginning. Make it happen, make it better, work with with all the participants, build a connection with the government, with the agency, and then let this platform bring a more and more social innovation. I really, really appreciate, especially on the people problem.
Thanks a lot, Stevenus. I think you're absolutely right. Keeping the competition aside, what we're looking for is the real impact which your solution or your idea can make with real people. So that's the reason for this competition to exist. And we're so glad that, we're all on the same page and you agree to our vision for this competition. Thank you so much for being here again. Mohit, would you like to share some final thoughts?
Sure, Rohan. So first of all, thanks to entire UMO team, Rohan, and everybody who has relentlessly worked, and thanks to everybody. And I've been knowing UMO from my days back in design school, and one of the key aspects which does not come in front of the curtain is Kalandhar Bapu, and I've known him for such a long time, and he has contributed to the design society in such a nice and wonderful way, not only during pre-pandemic times, but bringing such a wonderful initiative during this time. I think he has been a really active person in terms of contributing back to design. So I want to really thank him for doing this engagement. And it brings out certain emotions while you see the new students and aspirants coming out today and talking about design and thinking about social problems. It is really inspiring. So first I really wanted to thank Kalandhar for coming and working with the team and thinking about this. So yeah, and along with that, the whole UMO team, how they kind of collaborated at different stages and made it happen. They provided instructions in such a simple, easy way that you could just go and navigate, and it made our life much more easier. And as Anita also highlighted, I think I echo the same sentiment for everybody. we all would love to come back again. And not only while we were doing the jury, I think we also loved, and in fact, the video and the slides, I was kind of walking in their shoes and looking at their journeys from their sites, and so many wonderful problems like Ranjit, Steve, and everybody talked about. It's because we are evaluating from certain key aspects, it does not mean your problem was not there. Maybe if you pitch it to the right audience, and you may make things work over there. And I think it's all about that idea which you have, and keep taking it and pushing it to the next level. And with that, I'll just thank all the participants for taking out time, collaborating, and delivering such excellent products. So I was really pleased and honored to look at all the results, and it was really wonderful. So thank you so much, everybody. It was a pleasure.
Cool, awesome.
Thank you, Mohit.
And,
Thank you so much.
and
Ranjit,
this
yes,
is
please.
I think so the real challenge is now, Rohan. It's not yet done, right? So now that we got fantastic entries shortlisted, and then we got into finalists. Like 2 steps are already done. Now comes the biggest hurdle for the people who got finalized, right? So we're gonna have the final presentations. It's going to be the online jury for the last round for announcing the winners out, right? That's always is going to be the most toughest part. And all the finalists, just make sure, tweak your presentations, rethink about your whole storytelling. Now that you're a finalist, it's going to be really, really, really competitive, because now think about all these 20 people are very, very creative, right? You saw their presentations, you saw how tough competition they are going to give you, and they all are storytellers. So think about, find your story, how you're going to tell your problem, and your problem identification, how your concept is unique. And think about and it's a time based also, guys. It's not that you're going to give in. You need to tell your concept to the online jury in 7 minutes, I guess. Ravi, that's right, Rohan?
You're right,
So,
Ranjit. 7 minutes
yeah.
plus 3 minutes for your question and answers.
That's right. 7 minutes you're going to tell about your whole story, the process you've gone through, how did you identify the problem, and what kind of research you have done, and the process, and the kind of third process, and then your final solutions, and then the evaluation criteria, how it's actually saved the planet from a sustainability point of view, and the whole user experience and practicality and stuff, right? So get ready with that. Think about, feel free to tweak your presentations and see. It's going to be take it as a good competition challenge, so that so it will be healthy team spirit. And I can't wait for looking at the final presentation. Sometimes it makes me really nervous in terms of in the final thing. But in fact, we ourselves, entire UNMO team and all the mentors and judges, also learning from you guys in kind of thinking you are doing, the ideas you're getting in, storytelling from you guys. And I would say congratulations to all the finalists, and also all the best for your upcoming final round, right? So get ready for it. And anything else, anyone from the jury and the panelists?
No, I don't know what else to say. You said everything. Say no pressure.
Yeah.
That's
Now
correct.
just keep up doing what you're doing, and staying positive and testing negative in today's world. And that would be my final
That's right.
word.
All right. Absolutely, guys. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Ranjit, for summing it up nicely for all the participants. I think they have one more week to look forward to. And thank you so much for the jury members and the mentors who are not just on this call, but who've been there since the last couple of weeks and who've been supporting this initiative. We'll, of course, have all of them rounded up for the awards next weekend. But stay tuned for that and get ready for your presentations. And also, like Mohit was mentioning, the rest of the UMO team, of course, with Bapu, are working behind the stage. They're not on the scene, but a lot of
Yeah.
kudos to all of them for putting a lot of the effort and a lot of those late hours into making this competition a huge success. So thank you so much, everybody. We will see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.